Everyone, a warm welcome to all. Today, the webinar is on GSTR 9 and 9C. As we all know, GSTR 9 is an annual return to be filed yearly by the taxpayers registered under GST, and it consists of details regarding the outward and inward supplies made or received during the relevant previous year under different tax heads: CGST, SGST, and IGST, and the HSN codes. It is a codification of all the monthly or quarterly returns filed in that year. Though complex, this return helps in extensive reconciliation of data for 100% transparent disclosures. And GST and 9C is a return form required to be filed by the registered taxpayers in case the aggregate turnover is more than 2 CR. In this case, the taxpayer has to submit a copy of audited annual accounts and reconciliation statement reconciling the value of supplies declared in the return furnished for the financial year. And for this, we have a guest speaker, CAS Daddaji. He is having a work experience of over 10 years in the field of indirect taxes. He was a special invitee to the Indirect Tax Committee of ICI for the term 1819 and 1920. He is also on panel of CIA, SGST, Service Tax and Excise Advisor for the industry members. He has represented ICI in Regional Advisory Committee, Rajasthan, under aegis of Chief Commissioner of Excise and Customs, Jaipur. He is founding core member of study group of ICI on GST research and upgradation matters. He has written handbook on principles of classification for goods and services under the GST and also on casual taxable person for IDTC of ICI. As his mission, he is also engaged in grooming young professionals of CA, CS, and MBA on topics of soft skills and professional life management. And we have with us none other than CA Vivek Khuranaji. He is the founder of CS Ansar and his name is just enough for the CS. Now, I would request him to welcome him and give him a welcome address. So, please.
Thank you very much, Tutiji, and a warm welcome to all of you on this today's very important webinar on GSTR 9 and 9C. My sincere thanks to very brilliant speaker CAS Tadaji for accepting our invitation and giving his valuable time. And this is the time for the annual return GSTR 9, 9C, and lots of confusions are there. And in fact we can say that GST itself it's a confusion. मेरे को तो आज तक कुछ समझ नहीं आया, and I don't work for the GST, but yes, we have to work and we have received many calls for a webinar on the GSTR 9 and 9C, and some queries we have received on our mobiles and on mails also. So we ask for the ESD, and ESD कभी मना नहीं करते seriously, and it's my sincere thanks from the core of my heart to ESD, and I will not take lots of time. So now it's directly over to Yashdi. Please.
Thank you so much, Vivek ji. Thank you, Stuti ji, and good evening to all the participants and members of CS Ansar. It is always a pleasure to come on this forum, Vivek ji, for two reasons. One is the mutual admiration we have for each other, and second, the quality of participants which you have, because the kind of questions which they come in. So that's my added motivation to actually come and speak here, because those questions actually help me to go back, study, and come back here. So that way it really helps. I'll just share my screen. The screen is visible, sir? Madam, the screen is visible?
Yes, it's visible, and I love this. I was just waiting for you. This screen loading and loading and loading.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. So as Vivek ji said, कि ये GST अपने आप में confusion है. Well, to some extent, the perception is correct. I would not say that the perception is not true. That's the correct perception as of now still about GST, which we have almost when we are standing at 5.5 years of this law being implemented in India. And that's why I say that the loading which you see in the presentation, it's not because of the problem is there in the screen or in the presentation. That's because the state of GST, it is there in India. It is in the settling phase right now. But that brings in the opportunities for all the professionals, all those who are dealing in this field of law. It is exciting, it is challenging, and every day it throws up new challenges and new questions for you. Every time you think that you have understood something, you have gained a little bit mastery over it, and next day you come up with a query where you realize that you have to be humble, you have to go back again, read it, study, and come back again with a better answer to the problem which you have in hand. And that makes it quite interesting. In all of this, like today we are on 19th, and I'm sure majority of us are doing the monthly compliance for the month of October 2022, and this return is quite a crucial return, that is GSTR 3B, because recently through Finance Act 2022, when the dates were extended for taking some unavailed ITC for financial year 21-22, or making corrections in GSTR 1 or GSTR 3B. So earlier it was due date of filing of return for the month of September. Then it was extended to 30th of November. And all those people who do not want to delay the filing of GSTR 3P for the month of October 2022, probably today is that date where they would be doing the filing, because tomorrow being the Sunday, obviously all of us would like to complete our work today only. Second important aspect is that because we would be making all our changes and corrections and everything today, that is why it makes a lot of sense actually at this moment only to understand that whatever we are doing in our monthly compliances, how it is going to impact the GSTR 9 and 9C, which all of us have filed for 4 years now, and we'll be filing is for the fifth year now, by 31st of December 2022. That what changes are there this year, what are the new issues which we are going to face, and what are the additional precautions which we should consider, because the audit from the department, the scrutiny from the department, the questions from the department have started coming in on the basis of all the annual returns and reconciliation statements which we have filed for the earlier years. So, as whenever I speak on this topic, I generally say that I will not go into the basic nitty-gritties, and I will try and build upon the understanding on the basis that all of us who are discussing today, we know the basics about it, we know the table numbers, and we have filed annual returns and reconciliation statements for earlier years, and what are those new things which we should take care of. We would compare, we will restrict ourselves to that discussion only. I will try and sum up my monologue within 1.5 hours or so that we can have our questions coming in, which are going to be more fruitful. Okay. So for the financial year 21-22, for which we have to file GSTR 9 and 9C by 31st of December 2022, हम 21-22 की बात करें उसके पहले एक छोटा सा रिकैप इंपॉर्टेंट है कि 2021 फाइनेंशियल ईयर के लिए क्या हुआ था. And all of us know that through Finance Act 2021, Section 35, subsection 5 was omitted. And when I say it was omitted, it effectively meant that the certification which was required from a chartered accountant or a cost accountant on the reconciliation statement in GSTR 9C, that was omitted, and then the assessee had to do a self certification, and that's where we stopped doing the certification from our side, and only the certification from the assessee, self certification from the assessee came into picture, which still continues for financial year 21-22. And that is why we would say that we are not doing any audit. हम किसी तरीके का audit नहीं करने वाले हैं. No doubt we will assess the assessee, but किसी तरीके का certification नहीं है. And that brings me to a very interesting question, which was pending last year, that is in 2021. And according to me, that question is still there in 21-22. So अपने opening remarks में स्तुति जी ने कहा था कि 9C के साथ में assessee को एक annual audited accounts उसके साथ में 9 और 9C अपलोड करना होता है. And she read it on the basis of the provisions which are written under section 44, read with rule 80. ऐसा वहां पर चीज लिखी हुई है. However, जब last year, that is in financial year 2021, जब when the provisions of Finance Act 2021 were notified, with effect from 1st of August 2021, the language of section 44 was changed, जहां पर annual return और reconciliation statements के बारे में बात है. वहां पर पहले 44 सबसेक्शन 2 के अंदर ये लिखा हुआ था that assessee has to furnish electronically annual return along with copy of audited annual accounts and reconciliation statement. However, from August 2021, ever since this certification from chartered accountant or a cost accountant was omitted, the language was changed and it was said the person shall furnish an annual return which may include a self-certification certified reconciliation statement where the values of the return and audited annual financial statements have to be done. That means there was a clear omission from August 2021 as per section 44. There is no requirement to upload audited annual accounts. But वो upload की बात करें उसके पहले, because पहले अगर audit किसी section में नहीं हुआ था, let's say in 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, till the time when we were basically certifying GSTR 9C, in that case, if that assessee was not being audited under Companies Act or under Income Tax Act or under Societies Act or under any other act, then we had power coming from section 35 of the CGST Act or SGST Act to do the audit of the books of account of that assessee under the provisions of GST and upload the audited annual accounts or audited financial statement. Now, interestingly, if let's say there is an assessee who has a turnover beyond 5 crore rupees, aggregate turnover beyond 5 crore rupees, and let's say his books of account have not been audited either under Companies Act or under Income Tax or under any other act. For example, best example being a person earning a rental income. Let's say somebody is earning a rental income, he has some other exempted income also. Total of that is, let's say, beyond 5 crore rupees, and his income does not fall under the classification of business and profession under income tax, and that is why uska section 44 AB of the income tax mein audit hi nahi hua. Now the question will come in that when he will file his GSTR 9C, because uska aggregate annual turnover 5 crore rupees se upar hai. So when he will file his GSTR 9C, whether his annual accounts have to be audited. And the answer is yes, the annual accounts have to be audited because that's what section 44 says. The question will come in is under which act the audit will be done and who will do the audit, because abhi to self certification hai. And the answer to that is, as of now, there is no specific statute, and that's why he has to reach out to a chartered accountant and tell him, please audit my books of account, suo motu audit my books of account following your auditing principles, give me an audited financial statement, and I will do a reconciliation of it and upload that in my with my GSTR 9C. So it's a little bit of a faulty drafting which comes out, and it appears that the drafting has not been corrected as of now. And as I was saying earlier, up till 31st of July 2021, there was a requirement to upload the audited annual accounts. You can see the third bullet on the left hand side, which says there was a requirement to upload the audited annual accounts. Whereas when you look at from August 2021, you realize that now the requirement is to furnish only self-certified reconciliation statement along with the GSTR 9C. Along with GSTR 9. So there is no requirement to actually upload the audited annual accounts. However, GST portal being GST portal, as we say in a lighter term always, that ये कानून दो भागों में बटा हुआ है, एक कानून में क्या लिखा है और एक जीएसटी पोर्टल पे क्या लिखा है. And GST portal still tells you that you have to compulsorily upload the balance sheet and profit and loss account, though the section and the rule does not require the assessee. Even if you have got the audit under the provisions of Companies Act or Income Tax, you are still not required to upload the financial statement as per the amended provisions, but that's what GST portal tells you. And that's where somebody would say, I don't want to upload it. Somebody would say, I want to upload it, but I do not have a state-wise bifurcation available, and all sorts of questions would come in. But obviously the practical advice would be, get your books of account audited, do the reconciliation, put that figures of reconciliation in GSTR 9C, and upload the audited balance sheet and profit and loss account on the GST portal. If your audit has not been done under any provision of the Act, get your audit done suo motu through a chartered accountant, and again upload that suo motu audited balance sheet and profit and loss account along with GSTR 9C. This being a very basic thing, but you will realize that interpreting this also, there are two views possible, and both the views, probably it looks like the drafting would have been a little better. Anyways, now who is required to file what? Whether every assessee is required to file annual return? Answer to that is no. For financial year 21-22, we have a notification number 10/2022, which came on 5th of July 2022. And in that notification, it has been specifically mentioned that all those who have an aggregate turnover in financial year 21-22 up to 2 crore rupees only, they are not required to file the annual return. And from here, we would see that still all those assessees having a turnover of up to 2 crore rupees, they are not required to file annual return at all. I will come to that variation, that what will happen if they file it, but as of now, they are not required to file. Who are all those assessees who are not required to file annual return irrespective whatever their turnover is? Somebody who has an ISD registration, input service distributor registration, or casual taxable person, or non-resident taxable person, or all those who have taken GST number only for the purpose of collecting TCS or deducting TDS under provision of section 51 or 52. All of these GST registrations are also not required to file their any GSTR 9 or GSTR 9C. Regular taxable person who is not under composition scheme having a turnover beyond 2 crore rupees, he is compulsorily required to file GSTR 9. All those who have a turnover beyond 5 crore rupees, that is aggregate turnover in financial year 21-22, they have to just not file 9, but they have to file 9C also, which has to be self-certified. So that's how we have three slabs. 0 up to 2 crore rupees, no 9, no 9C. From 2 crore rupees to 5 crore rupees, only 9, no 9C. And beyond 5 crore rupees, 9 and 9C both, that is what it is required to be done in financial year 21-22. It is similar to what was there in the earlier year also. So in this regard, there is no such change. Only question on this particular point comes up, how would you calculate the aggregate turnover? So I'm sure all the discussions which you have had earlier, what will come in the definition of aggregate turnover, whether no supply will come or not, whether non-taxable will come or not, whether exempted will come or not, all of that would come into here. There is no change in the interpretations as such, and that is why I'm not going into details of it. Only two precautions to be taken care of. One, the aggregate turnover is on all the registrations under a single PAN, which we all of us understand. It is not only GSTN specific, it is on a PAN specific aggregate turnover. And second, once let's say my aggregate turnover crosses 2 crore rupees, then irrespective I have a nil turnover in a specific GSTIN, I have to compulsorily file my GSTR 9 and 9C also if the turnover crosses 5 crore rupees. तो ये वो सभी असेसी है जिन्हें फाइलिंग करने की जरूरत है. डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर it is being decided which form they have to file. Now let's first of all talk about all the small assessees having turnover less than 2 crore rupees. Now, as per this notification number 10/22, they are not required to file annual return at all. That's point number one. Can they file it? There comes the second question. Again, if you would look at the GST portal will tell you, yes, you are welcome to file GSTR 9. We will not stop you. You want to file GSTR 9? Please go ahead and file GSTR 9. If you will look at the law or the notification issued under the statute, you will see there is a difference. Financial year 17-18 और 18-19 में जो notification issue हुआ था और अभी जो हम 21-22 में notification की बात कर रहे हैं उसकी language में difference है. 17-18, 18-19 में assessee को option दिया गया था that they can file GSTR 9 within the due date. So they had an option to file GSTR 9 if their turnover was less than 2 crore rupees and somebody still wanted to file GSTR 9, they could have filed it. So that was notification number 47/2019. Currently, the notification which we are dealing in, it clearly says that the assessee is exempted from filing. That means the notification says you are not required to file at all. What is the implication of it? The implications are very important. Let's say I have a turnover of less than 2 crore rupees and I have some mistake in my GSTR 9 and I have not filed GSTR 9. Okay. Can department tomorrow, let's say at the time of scrutiny or verification, tell me that because you did not file GSTR 9 and you did not correct the mistake, you had a malified intention. आपने जानबूझ के correction नहीं करा because you did not want to pay tax to the government, and that is why we will treat it as a case of willful suppression. Okay. My answer is, now with the notification which we have in hand today for financial year 21-22, even if I want to rectify some error in my GSTR 9, even if I should have filed GSTR 9 because my monthly returns were incorrect, and if I do not file them, still I do not see any problem. I do not see a case where department can say it is a case of willful suppression, for a very simple reason that law has told me that I am not required to file GSTR 9 at all. 17, 18, 18, 19 फाइनेंशियल ईयर में क्या था, लॉ ने ऑप्शन दिया था, मैं ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज कर सकता था. यहां पर कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है मुझे एक्सरसाइज करने के लिए. However, still if I go and file GSTR 9, obviously because portal is not stopping me, so that's a good conservative practice to do. But if still somebody doesn't file it, it's absolutely all right. Next, we come to all those assessees who are mandatorily required to file GSTR 9, or all those who are required to file GSTR 9C also. तो अभी 21-22 और 2021 और 21-22 में क्या डिफरेंस है? So as we all know that ever since this annual return has come in, and I remember the initial days of 17-18 when first time all of us were filing annual return, there was a lot of discussion on which table will have what information and from where we will get the information. And there, when we read the forms of annual return and GSTR 9C, our institute ICAI came up with a technical guide of over 400-500 pages, and everybody said कि 400-500 पेज का टेक्निकल गाइड है एनुअल रिटर्न और 9C कैसे भरना है. दैट मींस इट लुक्स लाइक दिस इज वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. And then in that case, when they said it is very complicated, the matter went to the CBIC or GST Council again. और उन्होंने क्या करा कि एनुअल रिटर्न और GSTR 9C के फाइलिंग स्टकअप ना हो उसके लिए some of the fields were made optional. So all those fields which were only informative in purpose, but they were not impacting the totals of GSTR 9 and 9C or the figures to be carried forward, in that case they said it's absolutely all right, you don't fill those details. That relaxation continued in 18-19, that relaxation continued in 19-20. In 2021 गवर्नमेंट ने उस रिलैक्सेशन में से कुछ चीजों को बोला कि अब चीजें रेगुलराइज हो गई हैं, सो अब जो हमने आपको रिलैक्सेशन दिया था उसमें से हम कुछ चीजें वापस ले रहे हैं. नाउ इन 21-22 फाइनेंशियल ईयर जो रिलैक्सेशन पहले दिए गए थे, some of them relaxations have been withdrawn. So this year 21-22 financial year, the tables of GSTR 9 and GSTR 9C, certain benefits which we had or certain optional details which for government was asking, some of those details have been made mandatory, and this is important. This is a change as compared to last year 2021. This year 21-22, whatever you see on your screen and for the few subsequent slides, those details are now compulsorily required to be punched separately at respective tables in GSTR 9. What are those? So first of all, in respect to the instructions of GSTR 9, we had notification 14/2022, which was on 5th of July 2022, where all these instructions were which came in. So let's first of all talk about GSTR 9. In GSTR 9, we have two tables, table 4I and table 4J. So we know table 4 is about details of taxable outward supplies. The details of taxable outward supplies pertaining to 21-22 उसको हम table 4 में डालते हैं, और उस table 4 के further बहुत सारे subdivisions हैं. It has two parts. Apart from various multiple cells, it has two 4I and 4J. 4I and 4G are details in respect of the credit notes and debit notes in respect of B2B supplies, exports, SEZ supplies and deemed exports. तो So whatever GST debit notes and credit notes which we have issued in financial year 21-22 and reported that in our monthly returns, up till 2020-21, those details were optional to be filed as separately in credit note and debit note. And if one wanted to file them in a consolidated manner along with the value of supplies, हम वो कर सकते थे. मतलब हमें क्रेडिट नोट का फिगर माइनस में अलग से दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं थी और डेबिट नोट की वैल्यू हमें अलग से प्लस में दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं थी. हम उनको नेट ऑफ करके we could have shown them in the value of taxable supplies which we were punching in table 4. However, this year, now that option is not available. That means you have to punch your details of your credit notes and debit notes separately in your GSTN 9. You cannot take filter of the relaxation which was given earlier to you. The good part is that the details of your credit notes and debit notes, they get auto-populated from your GSTR 1 in your GSTR 9 table 4. The only thing which you have to take care of is that auto-populated details are matching with your books of account. There should not be error in your GSTR1, because if at all there is error in GSTR1 in case of credit notes and debit notes, then obviously it is important that once we are filing our table 4I and 4J, we have a relook, we look at them, match with our books of account and see if there any correction is required. So that is one aspect. Second is table 4K. So just like debit notes and credit notes, amendments, the corrections which we make, again only with respect to B2B supplies. B2B, B2B regular supplies, SEZ supplies, exports, deemed exports, credit note, all the amendments in credit note, all of them, they were optional. Now again in 21-22, they are mandatory. So B2B debit note, credit note, B2B amendments, B2B supply, B2B debit note, credit note in respect to exports, or in fact, debit note, credit note in respect of exports, SEZ supplies, or their amendments, they have to be compulsorily filed separately in the separate columns which are mentioned in 4I, 4J, and 4K. So this is important aspect. In respect of B2C, the details were any which way going in a consolidated manner, they would again go in a consolidated manner only. So taxable supplies के respect में जो इस बार information mandatory है, these are these three columns. Let's come to the exempted supplies, or those supplies on which we are not paying any tax. In respect of that, we have three tables: 5D, 5E, and 5F. Okay. Now 5F is basically, it says no supply or non-GST supply. That's basically it talks about that whatever no supplies you have, जिसको हम schedule 3 के transaction कहते हैं, along with non-GST supplies like petrol, diesel, liquor, and all those things, technically those were required to be shown in 5F, and 5D and 5E were in respect of nil rated supplies and exempted supplies. Earlier, the option was given कि इन सबको consolidate करके हम we could have shown that under one particular tab, that is called 5D. Now this year, in respect of this non-GST supplies, it has been specifically mentioned that non-GST supplies shall be shown in 5F separately, and exempted and nil rated will be shown in 5D and 5E only. Okay. और in case still you cannot do them, तो तीनों को consolidate करके आप 5D के अंदर डाल सकते हैं. So up till last year क्या था? The option was there, you put all of these three together in exempted only. This year a little advancement has been made, जहां पर बोला गया कि जो non GST supplies है, where you can only for the limited purpose of reporting can include no supplies also, you include them here and put that in your 5F as non GST supplies. Then we come to inward side in GSTR 9, जो हमारा टेबल 6 है, जहां पर हम ITC का डिटेल डालते हैं. Now there it is an important change, and this change, in fact, government is trying to capture how do you maintain your books of account, how accurate you are. What is that? So हम टेबल 6 के अंदर हमने जो ITC अवेल किया है हमारी GSTR 3B में, हम उसका रिकंसिलेशन करते हैं, where we have an auto populated figure coming in table 6A of credit availed in GSTR 3B in financial year 21-22, and uska bifurcation comes from 6B, D, E, F, G, H, and so forth, and so on and so forth. Now 6C or 6D, these were two rows, and these two rows were ITC in respect of tax which we have paid under reverse charge. तो अगर हमने रिवर्स चार्ज में कोई टैक्स अपनी पॉकेट से कुछ गवर्नमेंट को पे करा है, and if I'm claiming any input tax credit of it, we were required to report that in 6C or 6D. Up till 2020-21 an option was given कि अगर आपने रिवर्स चार्ज में टैक्स पे करा है and your supplier on whose supplies you have paid tax under reverse charge, he may be registered or unregistered, doesn't matter. You punch all of these details together and put that in 6D और उसको बोला आप कंसोलिडेट करके 6D में डाल दीजिए. You do not have to bifurcate between 6C and 6D. Now this year 21-22 it is mandatory. What is mandatory? It is mandatory that the details of ITC claim under RCM coming from a registered person is reported separately in 6C and coming from an unregistered person is reported separately in 6D. What will happen if we are going to report that separately? A question would come in mind. The answer to that is all the details of tax paid under reverse charge where supplier is unregistered. Okay, in that case, we are required to prepare a document which is called as a purchase invoice. Because in case of a reverse charge where supplier is unregistered, the document on which we can claim input tax credit is the purchase invoice. So what government is trying to do is that on the basis of your annual return, once you will bifurcate your RCM ITC coming from a registered supplier or an unregistered supplier, whatever figure you will punch in the unregistered table, at the time of scrutiny or verification, department will say, now we need purchase invoices in respect of these documents. So all those who are filing annual return and putting details in this 6D in respect of unregistered, they have to ensure that they have purchase invoices available with them. That's the important point in respect of 6D. In respect of 6C, where supplier is registered and I am paying tax under reverse charge, it is important that those details are appear in my GSTR 2A. And that becomes an even more interesting thing. Because जहां पर supplier registered है and I am paying tax under reverse charge, I don't have to prepare any purchase invoice. मुझे कोई purchase invoice prepare करने की जरूरत नहीं है. I can claim input tax credit on the basis of the invoice which has been issued by the supplier. Okay, because it will have all the details. Now, when supplier will issue me the invoice, he will show that in his GSTR 1 and it will appear in my GSTR 2A also. That effectively means I am telling the government that whatever figure I am dialing, putting in 6C, ensure that that is appearing in my my 2A. If it is not appearing, give me a notice. If it is appearing fair and good, it should be matched in that respect. Okay. Then the another table which has been made mandatory this year is table 17 in respect of details of HSN code for outward supplies. And I think this is going to be the most important change as or basically variation as compared to previous year, because HSN is one information which is only purely on information basis and the details can be bulky. So as you already know that last year in 21-22, government made certain changes in respect of HSN reporting. All those who had a turnover up to 5 crore rupees, they had to put 4-digit HSN on their invoices and in GSTR 1. And who had turnover beyond 5 crore rupees, they had to put 6-digit HSN on their invoices and GSTR 1. Now, the form mandatorily says because you were required to file GSTR 1 with HSN details, it becomes very easy for you to put the details in GSTR 9. Well, frankly speaking, friends, in my experience, if I am only dealing in a single commodity product, yes, it is easy. But if I'm not dealing in a single commodity product, I am dealing in a multi-commodity product, then I have to ensure that my details are accurate and the values of the total supplies which I'm putting in table number 17, they are matching with the figures of outward supplies जो मैंने ऊपर टेबल नंबर 4, टेबल नंबर 10 और टेबल नंबर 11 में डाले. And hence that is why it is important now this year that all of us have HSN details in respect of outward supplies. तो ये तो GSTR 9 के respect में details है which are mandatory, where on which I do not have any option. I have to punch the details. All of them are optional to be in the earlier years. What are the benefits which are still continuing, जो मुझे GSTR 9 में पहले फिल करने की जरूरत नहीं थी, वही कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं जहां पे गवर्नमेंट ने अभी भी मुझे ऑप्शन दे रखा है कि मैं चाहूं तो उनको सेपरेटली पंच ना करूं. What are those? It was notification 30/2021 last year, and some of those items are still continuing. So in table number 6 जब हम ITC की बात करते हैं, वहां पर bifurcation of input tax credit which I am availing in respect of input and input services, I am not required to give the bifurcation, or it is not mandatory, it is only optional. कैपिटल गुड्स का आईटीसी का डिटेल मुझे सेपरेटली पहले भी देना, मतलब पिछले साल मैंडेटरी कर दिया गया था, एंड दैट मैंडेटरी कंडीशन स्टिल कंटिन्यूज दिस ईयर. बट द बेनिफिट ऑफ पुटिंग कंसोलिडेटेड डिटेल्स ऑफ इनपुट एंड इनपुट सर्विसेज, they are still available for financial year 21-22. All the reversal which I do in my table number 7 of GSTR 9, GSTR 9 के टेबल 7 में जितने भी हम रिवर्सल्स डालते हैं, चाहे वो 180 डेज के नॉन पेमेंट के हो, एग्जेम्प्टेड सप्लाईज के रिस्पेक्ट में एक रिवर्सल हो, या बैंकिंग कंपनीज के रिस्पेक्ट में कोई रिवर्सल हो, ऑल ऑफ दोज रिवर्सल्स I was not required to give a head-wise detail separately. I had the option of putting a consolidated detail. I can still continue to put the consolidated details, so मुझे अलग-अलग details डालने का जरूरत नहीं है. Then table number 12, which is an important table, that is ITC which I have reversed in 22-23 related to 21-22, or table number 13, ITC which I have availed in 22-23 relating to 21-22. These two tables, it was optional earlier. That table is still optional in GSTR 9 for 21-22. Table number 15 and 16, these are tables in respect of refunds and also supplies which I have received supplies received from a composition person, या goods sold on approval basis, or goods sent to job worker. These details, they were optional, they still continue to be optional. And table number 18, which was HSN details on inward supplies, it was optional and it continues to remain optional. It is a very big relief, because अगर ये टेबल मैंडेटरी हो जाती, टेबल नंबर 18 की, then I understand 95% people have not maintained the HSN wise inward details, because we were not required to anyways report that in our monthly returns. आउटवर्ड का तो हमने फिर भी रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करा है, बिकॉज जीएसटीआर 1 में और इनवॉइस में एचएसएन लिखना मैंडेटरी हो गया था, बट इनवर्ड का नहीं है. And that's what probably the regulators have understood this, and that's why they have continued to keep table number 18 as optional. तो ये तीन चीजें हैं GSTR 9 की, जो पिछले साल 2021 में भी ऑप्शनल थी, 21-22 में भी ऑप्शनल है, बट कुछ चीजें हैं जो पहले ऑप्शनल थी, which we just discussed, and they have become mandatory. We come to 9C, and right now I am only discussing about those changes which were optional earlier, now they have been made mandatory. So when we come to GSTR 9C, in GSTR 9C, that is reconciliation statement, two things were optional, that is table 12B and table 12C. Now those two tables have been made mandatory. So what are these two tables? 12B says input tax credit which I have booked in 2021 financial year, but I availed in 21-22. मतलब 20-21 financial year की credit which I had already recorded in my books of account, but I claimed in GST returns in 21-22. And 12C, the credit which I have recorded in books of accounts in 21-22, but I availed that in my GST returns in 22-23. Punching details in 12B and 12C was always optional up till 2021 financial year. 21-22 में ये details को mandatorily 9C में डालना पड़ेगा, and that is why it clearly means whatever adjustments in respect of input tax credit which all of us have been doing between April 22 till 30th of November 2022, जो हम आज रिटर्न भर रहे हैं, तो अप्रैल 22 के रिटर्न से लेके अक्टूबर 22 के रिटर्न तक, whatever credit in respect of 21-22 which we have claimed, we have to take care of it here. And similarly, हमने पिछले साल जो भी क्रेडिट लिया था 2021 के रिस्पेक्ट में, we have to take care of it here. We need to have invoice by details of it prepared with us, then only हम वो फिगर 12B और 12C के अंदर फिल कर पाएंगे. Some details in GSTR 9C which were earlier optional and they continue to remain optional. The biggest being the details of table 5 of GSTR 9C, that is reconciliation statement. So in reconciliation statement, that is GSTR 9C, there we have to do a turnover reconciliation. And there the problem is when we start with 5A, that is turnover as per audited financial statements, and we go to the turnover as per annual return, in between we have 5B to 5N, which has lot of points, and all those points have its own interpretation, own way of putting things, and it was little bit confusing. It had little bit of interpretation issues. Regulator has, or a government has continued to actually keep it optional, and they've said you may still not punch the details here, and they put the adjustment on in a consolidated basis. Second optional which has been continued, reporting in table number 14. What is table number 14? Table number 14 is that table where whatever input tax credit which you have availed, you correlated along on the basis of the items which you have in your profit and loss account. So kind of the credit on the basis of the items which you have in your profit and loss account, you reconcile that with the credit which you are taking in your GST returns. That was the detail in table number 14. It was optional earlier, it continues to remain optional. But all those people who have filled details of clause 44 of GSTR 3B, which we of this our tax audit report 3CD, income tax के अंदर जो clause 44 आया था, जहाँ पे similar sort of information देने की जरूरत थी, जहाँ पे expenditure wise हमने कितना GST का inward supply हुआ है. If all those people who have filled the details there, I think they can fill the details in table number 14. All those who opted not to put clause 44 details and have given a disclaimer, probably they will continue to not fill table number 14 here and give a disclaimer here. So these are few changes from last year. ये पिछले साल और इस साल के अगर हम फॉर्मेट में और रिक्वायरमेंट्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्या हमें एडिशनल डालने की जरूरत है, इफ वी कंपेयर दैट, वी रियलाइज कि जीएसटीआर 9 के अंदर हमें आउटवर्ड सप्लाईज के रिस्पेक्ट में बाइफिकेशन को थोड़ा ब्रॉडन किया गया है. आरसीएम आईटीसी को हमें सेपरेटली रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करने की जरूरत है, और हमें एचएसएन की आउटवर्ड डिटेल्स को सेपरेटली बताने की जरूरत है जीएसटीआर 9 के अंदर. दीज आर 3 बिग चेंजेस which have happened in GSTR 9 when we talk about financial year 21-22. When we talk about GSTR 9C reconciliation statement, the change is only in respect to table 12, that is your ITC reconciliation, जहां पर पिछले साल के एडजस्टमेंट्स और अगले साल में एडजस्टमेंट्स करें, उनका डिटेल वी आर रिक्वायर्ड टू बेसिकली गिव. Now, when I say this, it is very important that all of us tax professionals or all those who help our clients, we go back to our clients and remind them. It is very important that 2021 फाइनेंशियल ईयर में जब से जो सर्टिफिकेशन को गवर्नमेंट ने सेल्फ सर्टिफिकेशन किया rather than a third party or a chartered accountant or a cost accountant certification, but they have went to the self certification, there has been a change in the verification clause of GSTR 9C. And that change in verification clause, the language of it is little bit on a stricter side. When I say it is on a stricter side, you will see that up till 1920, the verification clause on which we were signing as chartered accountant or cost accountant, we were saying it is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. That's what the third party professional was saying. Now, when there is self certification, this caveat of to the best of my knowledge and belief has been taken care of, and the assessee himself, when he's doing a self certification, he is giving a declaration without any caveat that whatever he is writing in GSTR 9 and 9C, that is true and correct. And that, to my understanding, government probably is going to use it further. If let's say they're going to find any variation in GSTR 9 and 9C, they have any questions in 9 and 9C, they do not agree with any figures of 9 and 9C, and if they think that there is any additional tax involvement which has not been reported in 9 and 9C, they will definitely ask the assessee to say that your true and correct verification was incorrect, you have not given the proper information, and you want to proceed on the basis of saying that there has been a willful misstatement. And that's where now filing of 9 and 9C, ever since our certification has been taken away, should be more precise, should be more accurate, to the extent, again, I always say it is possible. Now, when I say this, that means what is the additional burden which the assessee is taking on his shoulder, and that's where he has to be very accurate and ready. Again, in case of a multi-state GSTIN, multi GST numbers under a single PAN, how the turnover has been derived in respect to that particular state from books of account. Now that recording becomes very important, because what was happening earlier till the time our verification was there, as a third party chartered accountant, I was giving a verification to the department that if, let's say, I am filing GSTR 9 for the state of Rajasthan, then, and let's say I have two more registration, let's say one in Delhi and one in Maharashtra, then I was telling the government that whatever turnover of Rajasthan I am putting in my GSTR 9C for the assessee whose books I am certifying, or whose reconciliation statement I am certifying, I am taking that responsibility how that figure is coming in, and I am the third party, and obviously I'm not responsible for other two. Now when it comes to self certification, department, when they will ask is that you prove only the turnover of Rajasthan which you're putting in 9C is the only turnover, assessee is duty bound to explain that what those things he has included in Rajasthan and what are the things which he has taken outside Rajasthan. So kind of the scope of questioning gets enlarged when they are into self certification. Second thing, because assessee is giving a self certification of the eligible input tax credit in GSTR 9C, that means he is giving a certification that according to him he has received e-invoice, he has received goods and services, payment has been made to supply, and all other details are possible. But again, when we were doing certification, we were saying to the best of our knowledge and understanding and all other assumptions which we had. Now those assumptions have been taken away. So if there is, this is the additional burden which is coming on the assessee, which assessee should analyze, understand when he is filing GSTR 9C. And I think it is our responsibility that we tell it to the assessee that now filing of 9C more accurately is even more important. Now, two more important things are there in 21-22 financial year which had a widespread impact. Basically, two additional compliances came in 21-22. One is e-invoicing. Though e-invoicing was already there in 2021, in fact, it came a little earlier also. But because for the assessees having turnover from 20 CR from financial year 21-22, it came in 20 crore के turnover, या in fact 50 crore के turnover to be precise, वहां पे this e-invoicing came in. Now, when that e-invoicing has come into this level, that's the lower level, and then it was reduced further subsequently, it impacts lot of assessees, क्योंकि उसके पहले 500 करोड़ 100 करोड़ तक के assessee ही थे जो इसके ऊपर covered थे. Now, as a recipient also, I have to take care of that all the invoices on which I have taken the credit, there should be an e-invoice or IRN generated on it. And as a supplier also, I have to ensure that whatever B2B supplies I am doing, I have an IRN generated on it. Why it is important? It is important because from a supplier's perspective, if the e-invoicing was not there, there is a penalty provision specifically under section 122 of up to 20,000 rupees. But as a recipient, the provisions are little more harsher, where it says that it may not be a proper invoice. अगर मुझे IRN enabled invoice होना जरूरी था supplier से, अगर उसके ऊपर invoicing applicable थी, और अगर उसने मुझे नहीं दिया तो मेरा input tax credit valid नहीं है. Now, why am I bringing this e-invoicing here is because 9C जो GSTR 9C है, वहां पर जो assessee अपना 9C फाइल कर रहा है, वहां पे वो डिक्लेयर कर रहा है कि जो क्रेडिट है मेरे हिसाब से मेरी एलिजिबल क्रेडिट है. और जब वो एलिजिबल क्रेडिट की बात कर रहा है, दैट मींस ही इज सेइंग that I have complied with all the conditions of section 16.2. One of the conditions of 16.2 is that I should have a tax paying document or proper tax invoice. But rule 48 sub rule 4 ये कहता है that if I need to have a tax invoice with IRN and I do not have it, that means it is not a valid document. So it kind of puts me in a vicious circle where I have to not only take care of my invoicing, I have to take care of the invoicing of my supplier also. And that's where when I'm filing my GSTR 9C, I have to ensure that I have taken care of this aspect. Another aspect which is important is that the details of this HSN code, जो 2021 फाइनेंशियल ईयर में तो हाफ ईयर के लिए एप्लीकेबल था, बट 21-22 फाइनेंशियल ईयर के लिए फुल ईयर एप्लीकेबल है. इनफैक्ट फुल ईयर एप्लीकेबल होने के साथ this year in annual return, government has also made it mandatory that you put your outward HSN wise details mandatorily in your GSTR 9. And that's where if I have a turnover up to 5 crore rupees, मतलब अगर मैं 9C फाइल नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पर मैं सिर्फ GSTR 9 फाइल कर रहा हूँ, I have to ensure that in my table number 17 in respect of outward supplies, I am putting a 4-digit HSN code. और अगर मेरा टर्नओवर 5 करोड़ की बियॉन्ड है और मैं 9C ऑब्वियसली फाइल कर रहा हूँ उस केस के अंदर, then I'm putting a 6-digit HSN code. And mind you friends, as I always say, that how are we reading a rate notification is not dependent upon what is the description of goods or services mentioned in rate notification. That is 1/2017 or 11/2017. The important aspect is that whatever classification of goods or services which we have done, as per our understanding in GST, whether we have referred to the customs tariff or not, because our GST rates are dependent on HSN, and the interpretation of that HSN specifically in respect of goods is coming from the customs tariff. And customs tariff को पढ़ने का अपना अपने rules है, उसके अपने explanatory notes है, उसके chapter notes है, section notes है, और HSN explanatory notes है. So it is a complete code in itself. And that is why now when government is saying you are explaining your own HSN wise details in GSTR 9, it is important again that before punching those details, we should be doubly sure that what is that 6-digit HSN code which you are punching here in table number 17. Because whatever we are going to put it here, that will become permanent and that will be a self-declaration. So I'm not talking about rate right now. I'm talking about the HSN code, because HSN कोड में जितने डिजिट बढ़ते जाते हैं उतना आपका प्रोडक्ट का क्लासिफिकेशन becomes even more finer. It becomes a more finer classification of the product which you do, and that kind of can at times become a little bit challenging in that particular aspect. Now, with this, let's come to the approach. That what approach which all of us are going to follow when we will file our GSTR 9. An answer to that is very simple. I think that approach should not change. जो अप्रोच आप पिछले 4 साल फॉलो करते हुए आए हैं, that approach should continue. Whenever you are sitting down to file your GSTR 9, the base or the starting point has to be your books of account, which you understand are final, audited, and which you have closed at the time of filing your annual return. And on the basis of that books of account, you will prepare an outward register and an inward register. And this outward and inward register is a requirement as per section 35. So section 35 your record keeping की बात करता है. On that basis, you will prepare the register which will come from your audited books of account. इसको you will compare from your GSTR 3B for 21-22. Please mind me for using wrong. Please pardon me for this 2021 which I have written in second column. It should be 21-22. So whatever I am doing in my I have done in my GSTR 3B of 21-22, I will compare that with my books of account, and if the details which are matching with the books of account in 3B, वो मेरे टेबल नंबर 4 और 5 में जाएगा GSTR 9 के, और जो मेरी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट में या 3B में मिसमैच है उन सब के एडजस्टमेंट्स, चाहे टैक्स लायबिलिटी बढ़ाना हो या कम करना हो, I will put that in my table number 10 and 11 of GSTR 9. And that's how my approach of filing outward details in my GSTR 9 will be. Take books of account, match with 3B, whatever is matching will come in 4 and 5, whatever is not matching, but I have made necessary adjustment of that in my GSTR 3B, I will take that to the next year in my table number 10 or 11, subject to कि मैंने 30 नवंबर के पहले जो भी बढ़ाना था या घटाना था, I have ensured that I have taken care of those things. One question which generally comes up is, should I put figures of my GSTR 1? The answer to that is no. The figures of GSTR 3B are going to be important whenever you're filing a GSTR 9. No doubt आपके पास जो auto populated figure आएगा टेबल नंबर 4 का, वो GSTR 1 से आएगा. But if at all there is difference between your GSTR 1 and 3B, the totaling figures will obviously be of GSTR 3B. तो आपको अपनी टेबल नंबर 4 में necessary adjustment या correction करने पड़ेंगे to reach out to the figures which are matching in your books and your GSTR 3B. Okay. Then comes the next question. If let's say there is difference between my 1 and 3B liability, and let's say I have punched more figures in my GSTR 1 as compared to GSTR 3B, how will I file my GSTR 9? For that, friends, one thing which all of us should note is that there is section 75 subsection 12. जो एक सेल्फ असेस टैक्स को रिकवर करने की बात करता है, where department has kept power with them, or they have been given the power that without issuing any show cause notice they can directly make the recovery. And recently, with effect from January 2022, there has been explanation added to it, and the explanation says wherever there is a difference between a GSTR 1 and 3B, and the liability reported in GSTR 1 is higher than the liability reported in GSTR 3B, then the differential shall be treated as a self-assessed tax जिसकी डायरेक्ट रिकवरी करी जा सकती है. दैट मीन्स व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, इफ एट ऑल एन असेसी हैज अ केस जिसकी गलती से 1 में फिगर ज्यादा है और 3B में कम है, और जेन्युइनली जो 1 में फिगर है वो गलत थे, if he has not made the adjustments up till this 30th of November date in any of the subsequent returns, then in GSTR 9 along with 9C, he should give a proper disclosure that the details in GSTR 1 were incorrect, they should not be referred to, and the figures which are mentioned in GSTR 9 as per GSTR 3B, they are final figures. इनफैक्ट ये ऑनलाइन अपलोड करने के साथ साथ इसको मैन्युअली डिपार्टमेंट में सबमिट करना भी इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट है, अदरवाइज टुमारो डिपार्टमेंट ये सेक्शन 75 सबसेक्शन 12 का एक्सप्लेनेशन इन्वोक कर सकता है. If the figures in GSTR 3B are incorrect or they are less than the figures in 1 were right, then in that case there is no question assessee has to pay that tax. अगर उसने subsequent returns में वो tax पे नहीं किया है अभी तक already, annual return is that time where he is going to pay that tax accordingly. Then comes to a reporting of RCM liability. तो आउटवर्ड के रिस्पेक्ट में तो एज आई ऑलरेडी सेड टेबल 4 में वही आएगा जो मैं ऑलरेडी 3B में पे कर चुका हूं और मेरी बुक से मैच कर रहा है. In respect of RCM, the approach is slightly different because the language in respect of RCM which is mentioned in GSTR 9 table 4G says the tax which is to be paid by the recipient. That means whatever is my tax liability which I was required to pay, if I have not paid तब भी वो फिगर 4G में आएगा, और अगर मैंने ज्यादा पे कर दिया RCM तब भी I will only put the correct figure in my table 4G. So the approach to file table 4G of GSTR 9, that is RCM liability, is the amount of RCM liability which I was required to pay in financial year 21-22. And accordingly, whatever adjustment is going to be there in the tax liability, that will happen in my table number 9 जो मेरा tax paid, या टेबल नंबर 14 जो मेरा tax liability वाला टेबल है. But my RCM details will be as per my books of account the correct RCM liability. ये क्रॉस चेक भी है which all of us should ensure whatever figure we are punching in table 4G, and I'm saying this with a lot of stress, whatever figure which we are going to punch in table 4G, we have to ensure that we reconcile it with the figures which are putting in table 6C and 6D and 6F. 6C registered, 6D unregistered and 6F import of services. ये तीनों मिला के RCM की मेरी इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट है. So whatever figure I have in 6C, 6D, 6F of my annual return should not be greater than the liability which I'm putting in table 4G. So it's kind of a cross check that I'm filing correct annual return or not. Figures which are there in table 4G, it should be higher or equal to the figure which I have in my 6C, 6D and 6F. So that's an important thing to take care of. Then we come to table number 5, that is details of exempted supplies or no supply. यहाँ पर the approach has to be slightly different as compared to table number 4. Table number 5 has to be the exact correct details, and that's again very important. At times what happens is, मान लीजिए I have made some error while punching my exempted supplies detail in my monthly returns, and I've corrected that in my subsequent returns. Now the question which comes up is that in my table number 10 or 11 of GSTR 9, which is the adjustments and outward supplies I do in the next year in 22-23, should that have details of exempted supplies or zero date supplies under LUT or non-GST supplies or no supplies? And the answer to that is absolutely no. Even if I punched wrong returns in my monthly, wrong figures in my monthly returns, I have to ensure that in my table number 5, I put the correct figures, that is the figures which are appearing in my books of account, so that I match them, and I match them in my books of account, और इसका मुझे कोई spill over effect लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. That is in respect to table number 5. Table number 5 will definitely have no supply transactions also. And यहाँ पर generally a question comes up that should in my annual return I should put everything which is there in my profit and loss account. मेरे profit and loss account के credit side में जो भी सब चीजें हैं, क्या उनको मुझे मेरे टेबल नंबर 5 में दिखाने की जरूरत है if I'm not paying tax on them? And again, answer to that in my humble understanding is no. Only those supplies which are exempted, nil rated, yeah, supplies of alcohol, liquor, or let's say diesel, 5 types of items which are outside the purview of GST, or no supply, that is schedule 3 transactions. उनके अलावा किसी भी तरीके का अकाउंटिंग एडजस्टमेंट है, एक्सचेंज रेट डिफरेंसेस है, एक्सपेंडिचर की क्रेडिट साइड है, कोई एक्सपेंडिचर्स की रिकवरी है, ऑल ऑफ दैट शुड नॉट बिकम पार्ट ऑफ माय टेबल 5 ऑफ GSTR 9 because they do not classify or qualify themselves as supplies. तो just because मेरे प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस के क्रेडिट साइड में कोई फिगर आ रहे हैं, that does not mean that I have to punch that in my table 5 of GSTR 9. And it is important because once you have a very high number in your table 5 of GSTR 9, department raises a question by saying all of this is your exempted supply, why have you not reversed the credit? And then all sort of you have to explain कि exchange rate difference के ऊपर ITC reversal क्यों नहीं होता. But if you were not reporting it, obviously department will not get confused कि आपने ये figure exempted में क्यों नहीं लिखा है. So that's the correct way of putting it this way. When you come to table number 9, this year also in table number 9, column number 3 to column number 7, that are details of tax paid, चाहे वो cash में पे करा हो या ITC से पे करा हो, those details remain static, those details remain constant, you cannot change them, they are auto populated. Only one column details which can be changed is column number 2, and we have to ensure कि column number 2 में हम जो figure लिख रहे हैं, that is coming from my table, the total of table number 4. तो हमने टेबल नंबर 4 में जो taxable liability लिखी थी, which we have written in respect to all taxable supplies, only that tax payable figure should come in my column number 2. Because I cannot change my tax paid details, so obviously there is going to be difference. कभी liability payables कम हो सकती है, कभी payables ज्यादा हो सकता है, कभी पिछले साल के एडजस्टमेंट इसके अंदर हो सकते हैं, कभी सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर में जो एडजस्टमेंट्स करें उनका इंपैक्ट नहीं हो सकता. बट इन ऑल ऑफ दीज डिटेल्स, one thing which has to be ensured is that my table number 2, the column number 2 of this table 9, it matches with the details which I have punched in my table number 4, so that I can always explain it to the department कि मेरी tax liability मेरी output supplies की value के साथ में कैसे match कर रही है. Now, whenever there is going to be difference, there can be one more possibility that I might have paid certain tax through DRC 03, and there can be multiple reasons for it. Let's say 21-22 में मेरे यहाँ पे कोई सर्च हो गई, मैंने ऑडिट के कारण कोई टैक्स पे करा, कोई ई-वे बिल रिलेटेड नोटिसेस हैं, I have paid some additional tax which I forgot. In all of that, I have to figure out, I have to classify कौन सा टैक्स ऐसा था जो मैंने रिटर्न से पे नहीं करा, but it related to my outward supply. And that figure I have to ensure I put that in table number 9, column 2, because that relates to my outward liability for current year. Apart from that, all the tax which I have paid in respect of ITC reversal or e-way bill matters or any old audit matters, they will never become part of my table number 9, column 2. So annual return is also a correct occasion to go back, look at your GST portal, जितने भी तरीके के आपने DRC 3 फाइल करे हैं, download them, make a total of it, list down the reasons, and from those reasons, segregate all those taxes which you have paid in respect of outward supplies of 21-22, और वो tax को अपने table number 9 की column 2 के अंदर you have to punch. That's an important thing to be taken care of. Then we come to table number 6 and table number 7. Okay, these are tables of ITC reconciliation. And again, one philosophical thought difference in this case, and I probably to understand is, annual return is not that occasion jahan pe I can claim extra benefit from the government. Annual return is just a summation of what has been done in the year, or what additional I want to offer to the government as payment of tax, which is rightly payable to government. But that time limit of claiming any additional benefit from government has lapsed, तो मैं annual return में कोई additional benefit नहीं ले सकता. That is why table number 6 और table number 7, table number 6 जो ITC availed की डिटेल है और table number 7 जो ITC reversal की डिटेल है, in these two tables I cannot have any additional information. It has to be just reconciliation of what has already happened. That is why आप जो टेबल नंबर 6 देखेंगे एनुअल रिटर्न का, in that table you have to ensure that you are only doing a matching of what is there in your GSTR 3B vis-a-vis what is there in your books of account. Okay, and that's here a lot of time question comes in कि मैंने अगर 3B में कोई क्रेडिट लिया हुआ है और मान लीजिए वो क्रेडिट पुराने साल का है, 20-21 फाइनेंशियल ईयर का क्रेडिट मैंने अगर 21-22 में लिया है, तो मेरे टेबल 6A में तो ऑटो पॉपुलेट होके आ रहा होगा, मैं उसको यहाँ टेबल 6 में क्या करूंगा? एंड आंसर टू दैट इज मैं BCDEFG ये जितने भी फिगर्स है ये मेरे बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट से डाल रहा हूँ, जिनको मैंने 3B में भी डाला है. तो बिकॉज बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट में ये साल मेरी वो क्रेडिट नहीं है जो मैंने 2021 की इस साल 21-22 में ली है, this table number J will show a difference. 6J, it will show me a difference, that this is the difference which is coming in, and this difference will match with the ITC of 2021 which I have claimed in 21-22. So 6B to 6H figures will come from books of account. Only those figures from books of account which I have claimed in my GSTR 3B of current 21-22, and whatever difference is there, it will show that it is the ITC which is coming excess in my GSTR 3B and pertains to the previous year. That is the correct way of looking at table number 6. Again, a recap in table number 6, ITC of capital goods we have to punch separately, and 6C and 6D of unregistered and registered persons, 6Z and 6D. Earlier they were optional, this year they are mandatory. We have to punch the details mandatorily here. Table number 7 is basically ITC reversal. This year also we need not punch details separately in 7A to 7H, and consolidate reversal जो भी हमने reversal 3B में किया है pertaining to current year, we can put it here. Again, it is the details of ITC reversed. It is not the details of ITC to be reversed. So any additional reversal which I want to do, table number 7 is not the correct place. उसके लिए हमें probably GSTR 9C या separate DRC की जरूरत है. But in annual return, we will not put any additional reversal which I wanted to do in my GSTR 9. Coming to the most controversial table of annual return, that is table number 8. Why I say controversial? Because government has kind of changed its stand on table number 8 from time to time. Table number 8 is basically reconciliation of the ITC which is appearing in my GSTR 2A vis-a-vis the ITC which I have punched in my annual returns in the above table. That is table number 6. Now, पहले गवर्नमेंट ने 17-18 में बोला कि ये जो टेबल है इट इज ओनली फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन पर्पसेस और इसके बेसिस पे देयर इज नो रिक्वायरमेंट टू रिवर्स द आईटीसी. हाउएवर गवर्नमेंट वाज आई वुड से वाइज एनफ नॉट टू से कि इसके बेसिस पे कोई स्क्रूटनी का नोटिस इशू नहीं हो सकता. एंड गवर्नमेंट इन इट्स राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द लीगल प्रोविजंस दे हैव इशूड नोटिसेस फॉर स्क्रूटनी, दैट इज ASMT 10 by saying that your ITC in table 8A is lesser as compared to the ITC which is coming in as cumulative of 8B and 8C. Okay, 8B is ITC coming from table 6 and 8C is ITC जो आपने इस साल के अगले साल में अपनी GST रिटर्न्स के अंदर ली है. तो अगर 8B और 8C का टोटल आपकी 8A से ज्यादा है तो 8D में डिफरेंस आता है, and that difference government has kind of questioned again and again by saying that why should we not ask you to reverse this credit. This is that credit which is not appearing in your GSTR 2A. That means supplier has either not filed GSTR 1 or supplier has not paid tax to the government. Okay. Now, first thing to understand, and which all of us have seen, that my figure of table 8A vis-a-vis total of a monthly GSTR 2A generally does not matches. And it does not matches because my table 8A does not have ITC or details of inward supplies which are otherwise available in my monthly GSTR 2A. तो मैं अगर जो मेरे 12 GSTR 2 हैं अगर मैं उनका मंथली का समेशन करूंगा तो वो फिगर हो सकता है 99% केसेस में मेरे 8A के फिगर से ज्यादा आए. और वो 8A के फिगर से इसलिए ज्यादा आएगा because as per GSTIN only these 5 types of inward supplies which may appear in my GSTR 2A does not appear in my table 8A. And what are those? Supplies on which supplier is paying tax. Supplier is saying that I will pay tax under reverse charge. It will not come in my 8A. Where place of supply of is same as the place of supply of the supplier, location of the supplier, that will not come in my 8A. Then where supplier has subsequently amended my GST, and that will not come in 8A. Fourth, where taxpayer has opted to pay for composition scheme, that will not come in my 8A. बट ऑल ऑफ दिस में अपेयर इन माय 2A. तो मेरे 2A में तो दिख सकते हैं, बट 8A में फिगर नहीं दिखेगा. या फिर अगर सप्लायर ने ऐसा कोई इनवॉइस बनाया जब उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो गया, एंड somehow it is appearing in my 2A but it will not appear in my 8A. Now all these things will not appear in my 8A. Problem is not this what is coming and what is not coming. The problem is that ये जो difference है, इस difference को can department use as a basis? Answer to that is yes, department is using it as a basis. But if you read it strictly in line with the provisions of the law, answer which comes very clearly is that after January 2022, all these details, the credit which I am claiming has to mandatorily appear in my GSTR 2B, because section 16(2) के अंदर एक 2AA ऐड हुआ था which came in effect from January 2022. बट एनीथिंग बिफोर जनवरी 2022, और अगर हम एनुअल रिटर्न की बात करें 21-22 की, so between April 2021 till 31st of December 2021, only rule 36(4) was there, but the section 16(2) AA was not there. And the wordings of rule 36 or rule 36(4) probably did not give enough satisfaction to the understanding of all those people who understand, who read law, कि मदर प्रोविजन 36(4) का नहीं था, या अगर था तो जनवरी 2022 के बाद आया. So answer to that is we might get lot of notices on the basis of this table 8A, table 8, which I am not denying. But in spite of that table 8 difference which is coming into which we can't do anything, still the notices which we are getting, they are contestable notices, and it is not necessary कि हम annual return के साथ में उसी ITC को reverse करें. If you are not satisfied with figure of 8A which is coming in, it is always an option available कि आप GSTR 9C के साथ में अपना खुद का एक reconciliation statement upload करें in respect of table 8, and you explain that what should be the correct figure of 2A according to you. No doubt that's an additional exercise, but how it will help you is that if you are able to justify those figures at the time of the filing of annual return, and tomorrow any notice comes in, you can always explain कि this thing was already explained by you while filing of GSTR 9. आपने GSTR 9 फाइल करते समय डिपार्टमेंट को इंफॉर्मेशन ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन कर दी थी, उसके बावजूद डिपार्टमेंट ने उसको इग्नोर करा है, एंड दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच दे शुड नॉट हैव डन. When you file table 8 or details in table 8, or when you see the figures, there is one more problem which comes in, and the problem is in respect of credit notes. So what happens is a lot of times a supplier issues a credit note on me to which I am not aware of, or let's say I have not received the credit note, or I have not accounted for the credit note. तो वो credit note मेरे 2A में negative में figure दिखाता है. But what I do instead is कि मैं मेरा ITC reverse करने की बजाय I issue that supplier a fresh invoice for sales return. So net effect is government को जो tax मिलना था, I am paying that tax, but instead of reversing my ITC, what I am doing is I am paying output tax to the government. Now, when you file your annual return and you compare that with figures in 8A, suddenly you realize there is a problem. The problem is that 8A will give you a negative figure of this credit note issued by the supplier, and you have already shown that amount in your outward supplies at outward taxable supply, and it causes a problem there. So again, the advisory approach is obviously conservative है. अभी तक की जो return file करी है उसमें अगर ये rectification हो गया है तो well and good. Otherwise, this difference is going to come. One of you have to decide what approach you want to follow. Either supplier will say ठीक है, I will claim the ITC of your invoice, और मैं credit note का जो है I will forgo it, or you say no, I will reverse my ITC and the outward tax which I have paid, I will take a refund of it from the government. Either of the two approaches needs to be followed. That is, your supplier and you, they have to come on the same page. आपको एक पेज पे, common page पे आना पड़ेगा, common practice follow करनी पड़ेगी, because in case you don't do that, then it kind of it's a catch-22 problem for both of you. आपके लिए भी तकलीफ है, आपके supplier के लिए भी तकलीफ है, and this problem gets highlighted on the basis of figures which are coming in table 8A. Okay. Then I come to GSTR 9C table 5, because we've already discussed that you have to punch the HSN wise details. Again, in table 5, GSTR 9C, the important question which comes in respect of reconciliation is, what will you take in table 5A turnover? Specifically, जहाँ पे मल्टी स्टेट टर्नओवर है, आप रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम ऑपरेशंस का फिगर लेंगे, अपने P&L का क्रेडिट साइड लेंगे, टोटल आउटवर्ड रजिस्टर्ड लेंगे. What are you going to take? Well, to my understanding, it has to be figure which is coming on the face of my profit and loss account to start with. अगर मेरा single registration है and I only have a single GSTN to take care of, वहाँ पे what is coming on the face of my profit and loss account as revenue from operations, I will try and put that figure in table 5A so that it becomes very clear what am I matching here. Because if my table 5A in itself requires a reconciliation, मान लीजिए 5A का फिगर कैसे आया, अगर उसी को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए मुझे एक एडिशनल रिकंसिलिएशन लगाना पड़े, then the whole exercise looks a very difficult exercise to be taken care of. If I have multiple GST numbers, then in that case it is always advisable that you take a figure, whatever you're taking from your books of account, put in table 5A, and because आप एक reconciliation तो बनाएंगे सारे GSTN का, along with your GSTR 9C, you put that reconciliation of what is the total turnover of the entity matching with the profit and loss account, और state wise turnover आपने क्या 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 पकड़ा है उसका total you put that with your GSTR 9C. Again, it is precautionary, it's an advice or it's a practice which I have basically seen helping the assessee and the department during the course of verification. Because department हमेशा एक सवाल पूछता है कि आपके financial statements का जो turnover है और आपने टेबल 5A में जो फिगर लिखा उसको मैच कराइए, और जो मैचिंग अभी एनुअल रिटर्न फाइलिंग के टाइम हो सकती है, probably it becomes a little more chaotic और difficult अगर आप ये मैचिंग आज से 2 साल बाद जब डिपार्टमेंट का वेरिफिकेशन हो रहा है तब करवा रहे हैं तो. So it is always advisable that when you are filing your 9C, you take a 5A figure, whatever you're taking on the basis of your trial balance or internally derived turnover, match it with your revenue from operations, and with your 9C put a state-wise reconciliations कि हमने सारे states का total लगा के how are we matching it with my figures from revenue from operations which are coming there. Then table number 12 and 14, I think 12 we have already discussed that this year 12B and 12C are important, and when I say important it effectively means कि 12B जो आपका ITC का reconciliation है जिसमें आप पिछले साल की ITC जो आपने इस साल ली और इस साल की जो ITC आपने अगले साल ली वो फिगर तो आपको पंच करना ही है, बट बिकॉज वो डिपेंडेंट है आपके 12A की फिगर के ऊपर, दैट इज व्हाट इज द ग्रॉस ITC व्हिच यू हैव क्लेम्ड दिस ईयर इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट. It is very important that every assessee has a separate inward registered or ITC registered. ITC registered where details would come net of reversal. तो 12A में जो फिगर आएगा it will be net of reversal जो books of account के अंदर credit है, credit which I had used for the purpose of payment of tax, the credit which was available with me for payment of tax, उसको I will put that in 12A. The problem which I have seen in lot of 9C is, the biggest problem is that this 12A figure is a balancing figure. मतलब generally table 12 भरने की जो practice है वो practice ये है, हमारे पास 12D का फिगर एनुअल रिटर्न से आता है, ITC का फिगर हमारे को 12C और 12B पता होता है और उसके हिसाब से हम उल्टा फिगर 12A का निकालते हैं, which is not the correct approach, because on that basis if tomorrow department is going to ask that आप 12A की फिगर पे कैसे पहुंचे और आपकी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट का फिगर कैसे है, it might become a very difficult thing to explain, and there the problems would come in is that your books of account figure is improper and not valid. So approach should never be reversed. No doubt it is difficult that you have your gross ITC and reversals minus and then you're putting in 12A, but that's how the table should be. इसी तरीके से वो टेबल भरी जानी चाहिए. Part 5 is the additional tax payment, and यहाँ पर वो liability हमेशा report करनी चाहिए which assessee intends to pay, which he thought that he wanted to pay throughout the year, but he was waiting that he will do that in annual return, but it will not have that ITC जो reconciliation difference के कारण arise हो रही है. So apart from reconciliation difference, I have taken any wrong input tax credit, or I have any classification dispute या किसी transaction पे मैं tax pay करना slip कर गया, or there is any interpretation thing which comes in and later on realize that I have to pay the tax. all of that will come in my part 5 and I will be reporting here. So there should not be any duplication. जो टैक्स हम 9C में ऑलरेडी ड्यू टू नॉन रिकंसिलिएशन रिपोर्ट कर चुके हैं, उसके अलावा अगर कोई टैक्स है दैट शुड एक्चुअली कम इन माय पार्ट 5. ओके. One important thing which comes up is, let's say I file my annual return 9C, I have some additional tax to pay. Can I pay that through input tax credit? Is it possible? Well, the answer to that is, when you read section 41, one gets an idea कि ये section 41 कहता है कि आप सिर्फ आउटपुट टैक्स पे कर सकते हैं, और हम जो भी टैक्स पे कर रहे हैं एनुअल रिटर्न का, क्या वो आउटपुट टैक्स है या नहीं है. वेल, आंसर टू दैट इन माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज, जो भी हम आउटवर्ड के रिस्पेक्ट में टैक्स पे कर रहे हैं, that is in respect of my outward tax liability, it definitely becomes part of my output tax liability. So irrespective, I am paying that through my returns or through DRC 03 or at the time of audit or at the time of annual return, I can use my input tax credit. और जहां पे भी मैं ITC रिवर्सल कर रहा हूँ, the ITC which I had claimed already, और अगर मैं उसको रिवर्सल कर रहा हूँ, that any which way मेरे उस respective ITC में कितना बैलेंस है उसके थ्रू I can definitely pay that. So clearly, what I understand, you read section 41, section 49, एनुअल रिटर्न के टाइम पे आप जो भी टैक्स पे करते हैं, अगर आपके पास इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के अंदर बैलेंस है, आप जरूर अपने आईटीसी से उसको पे कर सकते हैं. ऑब्वियसली इफ देयर इज गोइंग टू बी एनी इंटरेस्ट लायबिलिटी, दैट यू हैव टू पे, अगर आपने वो आईटीसी बैलेंस थ्रू आउट मेंटेन नहीं किया है तो. बट somewhere in the instructions to annual return, it has been written that whatever additional tax you pay at the time of annual return, you have to pay that through cash ledger. And that understanding is not, in my view, properly coming out after reading the provisions of the law. And I do not see any restriction why the input tax credit cannot be used for payment of this output tax. So obviously हम जो यहाँ पे tax pay कर रहे हैं, हम उसको ITC के through pay कर सकते हैं. Last 2-3 things before we come to question answers is, whenever you're filing your annual return, I think it is most important thing which all of us would have realized in last 4 years and specifically departmental audit होने के बाद में, कि अभी आप जो अपना एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे हैं उसके साथ आपके पास 4 तरीके के रिकॉर्ड होने मैंडेटरी है. ये रिकॉर्ड सेक्शन 35 में भी लिखा है, रूल 56 में भी लिखा है, और आप जो एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल करने जाएंगे आपकी वर्किंग पेपर्स के पार्ट होने चाहिए. योर आउटवर्ड रजिस्टर, जिसमें सेल्स रजिस्टर के अलावा वो सारे ट्रांजेक्शन और होंगे जिसके ऊपर आपने जीएसटी पे करा है. इनवर्ड रजिस्टर, जिसमें आपकी इनपुट सर्विसेज कैपिटल गुड्स की जो आपने क्रेडिट लिया उसकी डिटेल है. आरसीएम रजिस्टर, जहां पे आपने आरसीएम क्या किस ट्रांजेक्शन पे करा और उसमें से किसका क्रेडिट लिया. एंड फोर्थ, स्टॉक रजिस्टर, दैट इज क्वांटिटी डिटेल्स ऑफ योर आउटवर्ड सप्लाईज एंड द इनवर्ड सप्लाईज, जो आपकी टेबल नंबर 17 और 18 में काम आती है जीएसटीआर 9 की. These are 4 basic registers which every assessee should have. No doubt they are going to help the assessee in current year, but at the same time, whenever department question would come in, that how have you punched figures of your annual return? How have you punched this specific column? Only these registers are going to come to the rescue. Only they can help you to explain to the department how have you punched the annual return details. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult after 2 years or 3 years when department questions ki aapka hi table number 4 का फिगर कैसे आ रहा है, and then you go back to your returns and you try to find out how have you punched the details. As a matter of practice, though now as chartered accountants we are not certifying it, but still we should tell the client that no GSTR 9 and 9C should go without any disclosure and caveat. No doubt डिपार्टमेंट ने जब इसका या रूल्स के अंदर जब ये फॉर्मेट चेंज हुआ और इसके जब वेरिफिकेशन वाले पार्ट पे देखा जाए तो वहां पे केवियट हटा दिया गया है. But it is impossible that when the assessee is self-certifying his GSTR 9 and 9C, he can take complete responsibility of every figure which is filing there. No doubt the figures have to be true. They cannot be untrue figures. They cannot be fictitious figures. But they are always open or subject to interpretation, subject to in which column where they should have been punched, they should not have been punched or not. Because GSTR 9C के अंदर हमारे पास ऑप्शन है कि हम अटैचमेंट अपलोड कर सकते हैं. वी शुड ऑलवेज अटैच अ डिस्क्लोजर एंड अ केवियट फ्रॉम द असेसी साइड. क्या मेथोडोलॉजी असेसी ने फॉलो करी है जीएसटीआर 9 की टेबल्स पंच करने में फिगर्स? बिकॉज यहाँ पर वी हैव प्रीवियस ईयर फिगर्स, करंट ईयर फिगर्स, नेक्स्ट ईयर फिगर्स, ऑल इंपैक्टिंग वन GSTR 9. So what methodology has been followed? और अगर आप टेबल 8 का जो जीएसटीआर 9 की टेबल 8 का 8A की फिगर से नॉट सेटिस्फाइड है, यू थिंक दैट फिगर इज इनकरेक्ट एंड यू हैव योर ओन जीएसटीआर 2A 3-way रिकंसिलिएशन प्रिपेयर्ड, जहां पे आपका डिफरेंस वो नहीं आता जो ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड में आता है, there is no harm actually putting that reconciliation as an attachment with GSTR 9C. All of that is going to help you, because department would always say that have you used section 126.5 or not. 126.5 says that if I wanted to actually give some information to the government, and if I have given that beforehand, department asking me, and tomorrow it is realized कि मैंने कोई टैक्स का नॉन कंप्लायंस किया है, बट अगर मैं उसको प्री इंटीमेट कर चुका हूँ गवर्नमेंट को दैट मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये है, देन 126.5 सेज कि पेनल्टी जब भी अगर बाई चांस लगेगी तो इस चीज का कॉग्निजेंस दिया जाएगा दैट वेदर यू हैव गिवन प्री इंफॉर्मेशन और नॉट. And because we have this beautiful feature in GSTR 9C that you can give an attachment, we should ensure that we give maximum attachments to the possible where we safeguard client's interest or the assessee's interest while filing the details, where he can give his disclosure, whatever reservations he has, whatever understanding he has of the specific figures which he's punching in, so that it becomes easy for him to explain further that how has he reached to those particular figures. I think with this, these are certain changes as compared to last year, which we have in this year. Certain approaches which we should follow while we're filing GSTR 9 and 9C. Because I understand all of us have filed 9 and 9C regularly, we have been doing that. So I'm not gone into the nitty-gritty of the details, but on an overall basis, what should be the approach? So that's why what I wanted to present. Again, thank you to CS Ansar for giving me this opportunity. Whatever questions are there, I'll be very happy to take them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yashji, for such a wonderful presentation. Yeah, few queries we have. First queries was from CS Sahil Dastogiri from Jalandhar. He was asking from the HSN code and he was asking for the notification. I think you have mentioned in the notification, and I think Sahil, you got your answer. And another query is from Mr. MR Garg. He's asking about the table of annual return. What is the difference between 4I and 4L? Why both needed when credit note can be issued?
One is I think table for credit note and one is for amendment. तो एक तो है कि मेरे से रिटर्न में गलती हो गई, मैं उसको सुधार कर रहा हूँ, that is one part of the table, and one is I have made error in issuing a document और मैं डॉक्यूमेंट को करेक्ट कर रहा हूँ, या मैंने ओवर वैल्यू कर दिया था और वैल्यू को मेरे को रिड्यूस करना है, उसके लिए मैंने इशूइंग अ डॉक्यूमेंट दैट इज क्रेडिट नोट. दोनों का पर्पस अलग अलग है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन व्हाट हैज बीन डन बाय मी.
Okay, few queries here mentioned. Abhishek ji, 0.6B to 6H should be actual books are what is
correct
declared.
So the answer is Abhishek ji, it has to be a combination of both. 6B to 6H, whatever is there in your books of account and you punch that in GSTR 3B, that should come in 6B and 6H. So not only what you have punched in 3B, आपकी जो किताबों में है और आपने जो 3B में पंच किया, that should come in your 6B to 6H.
Okay. And same query from Abhishek ji.
Impact of ITC 4 in GSTR 990 HSN details should match with above details declared or can vary. Okay, four questions are there. I'll answer one question. पहले एक फिर दूसरा. Impact of ITC 4 answer is yes. अगर मैं within time के अंदर ITC 4 फाइल नहीं करता हूँ, या let's say I'm not getting my goods back within the time which has been given under section 143, then obviously that becomes a deemed supplier. मुझे टैक्स पे करने की जरूरत है. अगर मैंने ITC 4 फाइल नहीं करा है, देन उसके ऊपर कोई इम्पैक्ट 990 में नहीं आता. इट्स अ प्रोसीजरल लैप्स. It is always advisable that sooner or later you should file it, but do not give any monetary impact of that ITC 4 in 990. Second, HSN details should match with above details declare or can vary. Well, the portal will not allow you to vary. अब वो आपको error दे देगा कि आपका जो value है वो match नहीं कर रहा ऊपर से. So it cannot vary. It has to match from point to point. 86B impact in GSTR 9. If I have not paid tax, let's say 1% जो मुझे tax pay करने की जरूरत थी, cash में अगर मैंने pay नहीं किया है, it says that I am technically required to do so. If there is a non-compliance to that respect, then answer to that is you pay tax to DRC 03 और आपने जितना excess credit के through pay करा तो उस credit को आप subsequent years में अपनी monthly GSTR 3B में ले जाइए. But yes, you should pay that tax while filing your GSTR 9. No requirement to pay any interest क्योंकि आप सरकार को already tax pay कर चुके थे. How can we check e-invoice input? ई इनवॉइस इनपुट आप ऐसे चेक कर सकते हैं दैट ई इनवॉइसिंग पोर्टल पे जाके अगर आप सप्लायर का जीएसटी नंबर डालेंगे, पोर्टल विल टेल यू वेदर दैट पर्सन वाज रिक्वायर्ड टू इशू ई इनवॉइस और नॉट. फिर एक एनआईसी हर 15 दिन के अंदर एक लिस्ट निकालते हैं वो सारे कौन से एसएससी हैं जो ई इनवॉइसिंग कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं. So on that basis, check whether a supplier was required to file e-invoice or not. Second, go to the website of NIC, download the list, see whether your supplier was issuing e-invoice or not. अगर आपके पास में डॉक्यूमेंट के ऊपर e-invoice नहीं है तो, और नहीं है तो then you tell the supplier that please you issue the IRN in current date. अगर आपके पास current date में भी IRN है तो आपकी पुरानी क्रेडिट को कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं कर सकता.
Okay. And next query is from Manmeet ji.
Sir, if additional turnover of financial year 21-22 to be reported and tax to be paid through DRC 03, kindly guide in which table turnover to be reported and which table tax payable and tax paid to be reported. If you have already not paid this tax of 21-22 in subsequent returns of 22-23, then in that case, अगर आप GSTR 9C फाइल कर रहे हैं तो आपकी 9C की जो टैक्स की रिकंसिलेशन वाली टेबल है वहां पर आपके डिफरेंस आ जाएगा और आप टेबल नंबर 10 में लिखेंगे कि हम ये एडिशनल टैक्स पे करना चाहते हैं एंड दैट वुड बी सफिशिएंट. अगर आपकी बुक्स में भी वो टैक्स रिकॉर्डेड नहीं है तो जो मैंने एडिशनल पेमेंट वाला टैब दिखाया था अभी पार्ट 5 वहां पे यू विल पंच द डिटेल्स. लेट्स से अगर आप 9C नहीं फाइल कर रहे हो, कोई एडिशनल लायबिलिटी है तो आपको 9 में कहीं फिगर दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं है. जस्ट पे एडिशनल टैक्स इन 9 थ्रू DRC 03 एंड पुट एन अटैचमेंट कि आप ये एडिशनल टैक्स पे कर रहे हैं.
This is from Gagandeep Singh.
Sir, RCM related to financial year 2021 shown and paid in 21-22, how it will be shown in annual return 21-22? Well, frankly, Gagandeep जी, ये टैक्स आपको 2021 के एनुअल रिटर्न में दिखा देना चाहिए था टेबल 4G के अंदर, और उसका पेमेंट आपने जो किया है वो आपको टेबल 14 में दिखाना चाहिए था. Now, if you have not done that, just show that in your table 4G that you have paid RCM in respect of the transaction. That's it.
Okay. Manish ji की query है related to HSN.
Yeah, it is mandatory to file HSN details for outward supplies. Outward के रिस्पेक्ट में मैंडेटरी है सर.
स्टार्टिंग में यश जी ने पूरा बताया था, आप इसको चेक कर सकते हो कहाँ पे मैंडेटरी. आउटवर्ड के लिए आई थिंक मैंडेटरी नहीं बताया था यश जी ने, तो आप चेक कर सकते हो इसको स्टार्टिंग से. रंगस्वामी जी.
ITC availed pertaining to financial year 2021 availed in 21-22. Which table? No, you are not required to show this anywhere in your annual return of current year. It will not come in annual return of 21-22.
Okay. Next is from Pankaj Bansal ji.
Why ITC table is showing only on the basis of 2A instead of 2B? Good point, sir. It's a problem actually. वो ठीक करने की जरूरत है क्योंकि जनवरी के बाद 2B है, जनवरी के पहले 2A है. ये एरर या एरर आप भी कह सकते हैं. It's a problem. I agree to this.
Okay. Ajit Taneja ji.
I am a proprietor in 2 firms, and one firm has GST number and another firm I have no GST number due to exempt items, and total sale of both the firm is more than 5 crore. Whether I have to file 9C? Yes, you have to file GST and 9C.
Okay. अभिषेक जी का एक और क्वेरी है 0.8C.
Should show of last year or taken next year? Taken next year.
Okay. Next, पंकज जी की क्वेरीज है.
Whether ITC is compared with GSTR 2A, why it is not considering the ITC already reversed in GSTR 3B? Actually, what they are actually comparing is your gross to gross figure. So I understand there is a problem because no, in fact I will rectify. There is not a problem because आपकी जो 8A में फिगर आता है वो भी ग्रॉस आता है और 6B वो जो कंपेयर कर रहे हैं वो ग्रॉस टू ग्रॉस कंपेयर कर रहे हैं. सो अगर आपने वहां कुछ गलती कर रखी है तो एक्चुअली द आंसर इज आपके 6B में जो हम फिगर लिख रहे हैं वो बुक्स का फिगर लिख रहे हैं, तो यू विल राइट अ करेक्ट फिगर देयर एंड दैट्स व्हाई देयर शुड नॉट बी डिफरेंस. तो कॉन्सेप्चुअली तो ये सही है, गलत नहीं है. इट इज जस्ट दैट आप 6B का फिगर कैसे भर रहे हैं दैट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. It has to be the correct figure as per the books and your punch in 3B.
Next query is from Rama Rao ji.
Sir, if we file GST 9 or previous year 2021, now what would be the penalty? Sir, can we file 9 for 21-22 without filing previous year 2021? To my understanding, portal will allow you to file 21-22 GST 9 without filing 2021. You may have to get it cross-checked, but in my understanding, it allows you to do so. Penalty is 200 rupees per day. subject to 0.5 of the turnover. That's the maximum penalty which is there for 9.
Manvir ji,
Can
so
we increase turnover in table 4 of GST 9 which is not reported in 3 of subsequent year? You can do that only if you're filing GSTR 9 and not filing 9C. If you're filing 9C, then don't do that. Your 9C will self-explain that.
Abhishek,
SEZ input not reflected but claim whether IceGate Tech Labs to allow or to pay. No. You claim credit. There is absolutely no problem. Don't pay any interest. Don't reverse ITC.
Vishen Dalmia ji.
So empty. What is empty? I don't understand. Empty sale will not be shown in 5 of GST9 because it is schedule 3 supply. Empty is merchant trade. Okay, merchant trade probably. So no, merchant trade is no supply. So it will be part of a no supply transaction. So no supply आपको non taxable में दिखाना है या फिर exempted के साथ क्लब करना. But आएगा तो सही है.
So thank you very much. I think हाँ उन्होंने लिखा भी है मर्चेंट ट्रेड का ही है मर्केंटाइल ट्रेड एमटी के ऊपर. तो आई थिंक रिशेन जी यू गोट द क्वेरी. एक नफीस खान की भी क्वेरी है नफीस जी की.
और लास्ट ईयर का इनपुट करंट ईयर में क्लेम किया है तो टेबल 8-2A में डिफरेंस आ रहा है तो उस डिफरेंस को जीएसटी में कहाँ शो करेंगे. तो नफीस जी जो आपने लास्ट ईयर का इस साल क्लेम किया है वो आपकी टेबल 6 में नहीं आएगा. जैसे टेबल 6 में नहीं आएगा वो आपकी टेबल 8 में भी नहीं आएगा और आपका डिफरेंस नहीं आएगा.
ओके तो नफीस जी के भी काफी फोन आए थे तो इनकी अगर कोई और भी क्वेरी है तो विल टेक 1-2 more minutes. यशटी अगर आपके पास 1-2 मिनट का टाइम है कि कोई और क्वेरी है तो अदरवाइज विल वाइंड अप. तो बाकी मैंने तो अभी सारी क्वेरीज ली हैं. अदरवाइज थैंक यू वंडरफुल एंड समबडी इज आस्किंग फॉर द प्रेजेंटेशन. तो प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए आपको ऊपर लिंक दे दिया, यू कैन डाउनलोड. यश जी हमेशा ही भेज देते हैं हमें प्रेजेंटेशन, कभी मना नहीं करते. तो you can download it from the telegram channel of the CSN sir. तो still now if you have any query, otherwise thank you के लिए तो आपके पास बहुत मैसेजेस आ रहे हैं यश जी. My question, yes विनोद जी आप पूछिए. आपका क्वेश्चन आया नहीं कहीं भी, आपने सिर्फ वंडरफुल लिखा था विनोद जी. Even after this webinar, even if you have already filed, कुछ समझ नहीं आई विनोद जी आपके क्वेश्चन की. Even after this webinar, even if you have some more queries, you can message us. तो हम दिसंबर मंथ में तो अगर टाइम मिलेगा यश जी से तो विल डिस्कस ऑन द क्वेरी सेक्शन आल्सो कि कोई जो भी मेजर क्वेरीज होंगी उसके ऊपर भी यश जी से टाइम लेकर डिस्कस कर लेंगे. एक नफीस जी का एक और है क्योंकि इनको काफी क्वेश्चंस आए थे.
सिंगल क्रेडिटर्स को पेमेंट 6 महीने के बाद किया है तो उसका इनपुट कहाँ रिवर्स करेंगे जीएसटी 9 और 3P में. अगर आप 9 में पूछ रहे, अगर आप ऑलरेडी 9 में कर चुके हैं तो टेबल 7 में दिखाएंगे. मतलब अगर आप 3P में ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं तो जीएसटी 9 की टेबल 7 में दिखाएंगे. नहीं किया है और करना चाहते हैं तो जीएसटी 9C में दिखाइए उसको या फिर अलग से डीआरसी से करिए. और 3P में करना है तो आप 3P में उसके लिए एक सेपरेट टैब है रूल 37 का, वहां पे आप कर सकते हैं.
ओके सो sincere thanks to Yash ji for such a wonderful presentation and replying to all the queries. I think it's the first time, otherwise तो काफी सारा टाइम लग जाता है. इस बार तो यश जी आई थिंक बस फायर की तरह ही एकदम से आंसर आ रहे हैं. So great sir, thank you very much. तो we'll take your more time in the month of December जैसे भी टाइम मिलेगा. तो till then bye bye, take care. Thanks everyone for joining us with this webinar. Bye, take care.
Thank you, bye sir.